You would see Kobe on campus, eating, hanging out, in the gyms. I'm like, that's Kobe, right? What the fuck is he doing up? You know what I mean? So, but he was closer to our age than he was to everyone else in the NBA. So I remember one in particular time, he broke his right wrist. So he was at Poly doing workouts left-handed, but it looked like he was left-handed. And I'm just like, I can't even shoot that shit right-handed that good.
You know how this goes.
Trae, obviously in the midst of a very successful career, 3-time All-Star, led your team to the Eastern Conference Finals. What made you jump into the athlete storytelling podcast space?
I started really because a lot of wrong narratives have been made about me. And for me, like, I've always been a quiet guy. I've always been kind of just staying out the way. If there's been things said about me, I didn't necessarily respond or anything. And I kind of just wanted to have my own platform to, if I ever did want to respond, I can go on there and put my words and what really happened, or you can go to the source and it's my podcast or my platform. So that was the reason. But then also I know guys like you that started your platform, that taught the game. I mean, I'm around my friends, we talk the game all the time. So it's a multiple reasons why I really started, but those are a few main reasons.
So, I mean, as someone who is, I mean, you talk your shit on the court, but outside of that, you are pretty reserved. So was it did opening up a different side of you, or how long did it take you to get comfortable with really just opening up and sharing? Because like you said, you're not someone that does a lot of talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a man that likes his actions doing a lot more of his talking than his words. So I was kind of like skeptical of opening my own podcast and doing that. I'm not doing it every day or like throughout the week like Draymond does it or Patrick Beverly does it, but I will do it every now and then, or once a month or twice a month, and I'll probably do it a little bit more going forward, but it'll never distract me from my main reason in this basketball. So
more athlete, I didn't know you was a football star until I was reading over this earlier. So you played a little football, huh? First of all, tell us about, before we talk anything about Ghost, I want to know, I'm a football player at heart, so talk to me about your football journey.
Matt and I known each other a long time, and Trae and I became brothers immediately upon him coming to the league. So these gentlemen to my left are very close to me. So Matt and I just played baseball together in the Celebrity Negro League baseball game to honor Willie Mays, which was really cool.
Rest in peace, yeah.
And I knew that you played high school baseball, Matt. So I played high school baseball, I played high school basketball, and high school football. I think you'd have known about it more, but I think ironically we're here for part of the reason that you didn't know about it, because we're here to talk about the blending of athletics.
The crossover. Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens a lot of times, guys, is particularly if you're a color, brown or black, I think what happens a lot of times, because we were born behind the black ball, which ironically, of course, it still is the case. It doesn't ever change. You know, the person who's brown or black born tomorrow is still born behind the black ball in today's America and or in other countries. And so I think one of the things that we feel limited in being able to express is all the different colors inside the bag that God gave us. And sometimes our own people will go, you can't do all that. And so I think once I hit as an actor, and again, Matt has known me in the beginnings of my career when I wasn't really hitting yet. He knew me way back. So I think once I hit, the stories started to come out about me being an athlete, and then for me, it's a perfect time to use a microphone and a stage when the crossover happens, because it's just me granting permission to young people who look like us to be able to try it all.
Yeah. I mean, as athletes, I feel like there's a huge, and I love the transition now with guys that are currently in it transitioning into something while they're still in it, because normally as athletes, we came from the older school. My first year in the league was 2002. I finished in 17. After that is when we kind of find out, like, damn, what's next? You know what I mean? So my next question to you is, when the football field or the phone stopped ringing for football, what was that crossover for you like, and where did the passion of acting come from? And a lot of people don't, like I said, it's not an overnight success. Your journey has been a long journey to get to and achieve everything you've achieved as an actor. But what was that crossover first like? Because most of us train our whole lives to be athletes. And normally when we're done, we're behind the 8 ball. Some people appreciate us for what we did, or sometimes they put us at the bottom because they think, oh, athletes think they can do anything. So what was that transition like for you into acting?
So there was a track star at University of Georgia, Matt and y'all, and Trae, and she went to school with me, and she came out with me. And I remember like in 95, I graduated in 96, and I remember in 95, Champ Bailey, Terrell Davis, Robert Edwards, Travis Stroud, a lot of these great football players that played with me at University of Georgia. I remember them, they wouldn't tease me, but they would recognize that I was floating around campus, that I was not trying to relegate myself to the athletic dorm or be there all day. And I didn't understand why they were at the athletic dorm all day. I'm like, you got that part already. I never believed that a person in a cafeteria, when they know the cafeteria they come from, why they should remain at that one cafeteria table. That makes no sense to me. So I always thought you should roam around the whole cafeteria. I know Clueless says different. I know Mean Girl says different. But I just believe that a person should roam around the whole cafeteria table, and some of which, Matt, came with me looking up to Tupac and knowing that, and he said it. He said, man, I can't dribble a basketball from here 5 feet in front of me. And I understood that God had gifted me with the ability to recite poetry, to memorize poetry, to tell story, to not try to impress people with it, but just to get my story out. To Trae's point, just to use a microphone and get your story out in whatever way you could. And I started to realize from these athletes who played with me, Matt, what happened was they were like, bro, you got a lot of gift if football don't work out. And it would be me reciting poetry on campus, like just doing little mini spoken word joints. I met Tupac during that time in Atlanta, where I'm from. And it was a brief meeting, but he was quiet in a corner at a spoken word like venue. The Apache, if you've been to Atlanta, is way back. And he was in there rocking, man, and he was quiet. And I loved him, you know. And I believe that he had bought into the Bishop character too much when he played in Juice, but I loved the spirit of the cat. I always did. And it was an interesting moment because I wasn't finished football yet, and I was still at University of Georgia, and it almost gave me permission. Seeing Tupac and going, I got a lot of those gifts. Champ and Robert Edwards and Stroud and Terrell Davis, 2 of whom are in the Hall of Fame, as y'all know. They would say stuff like, bro, if the football don't work out, nigga, you got some stuff. And they really would say that, quote unquote. And when I got cut in my attempt with the San Diego Chargers, it rung true. Whatever they said, but first and foremost, Matt, I had to get to a place of believing what they said about me. Because they could say it all day, but I was like, I got to figure it out.
Yeah, to you believe it don't mean nothing.
Yeah, it don't mean nothing until you believe it. So I always kind of took, I think I have a pretty quick antenna, but I always took to, and I think Trae did a good job of giving you a lob in terms of him saying that you influenced a lot of his moves, but I took and take to athletes who I can tell are on the pendulum of wanting to go into a very diverse way, and or left or right. 2 roads diverge, which one do you choose? And we had activists who were athletes prior to us. And so their microphone and their stage moments, guys, were, you know, Malcolm and Martin hitting Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Jim Brown, or Bill Russell, and saying, hey, will you join us in this march? And dare I say, the new media world for us is our new march. We get to say some things that back in the day they were doing this to say it. So I just went, man. I also didn't want to be broke. And I thought I kind of got talent, and it's not just on one side of entertainment. It's also on this artsy-fartsy side of it. So let me figure out and avoid God asking me when it's all said and done, why didn't you use it?
When it's too late.
Yeah.
Trae, this is, again, I feel like we're transitioning into a new space. You know, I started All the Smoke 5 years ago. It was one of the first basketball
Killing,
pods.
by the way. Killing.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. And before that, it was what was said on ESPN, Fox, the newspaper, was the gospel. At the same time, now we're 2024. I've been out the league for 7 years now, and everyone has a voice, and there's a lot more basketball particular podcasts. How do you walk that fine line of fans or haters, like when you're not necessarily playing well or your team's not playing well, but you're still wanting to shoot a pod and they're like, get in the gym or you didn't in? And like, how do you, obviously dealing with it all the time, but It's difficult. I'm asking this question because like I want you guys to understand, as current athletes, they expect us to just be that athlete. Although we can do a lot more things, they're always go to get in the gym or go do that. So when you wanted to explore and start your own platform and talk your shit in your way, do you ever hesitate from a standpoint of, damn, the Hawks aren't playing well right now, or maybe I had a bad game, or do you just say, flush all that, this is what I want to do right now and I'm going to do it?
I mean, for me, like, I have a schedule, like, I have a routine. So, like I said, I don't do it every week like I may in the future, or like guys like who do it. Because my main focus is basketball. Like, that's my main focus. I feel like I'm very young in my career, and I have a lot of years left. So, I'm not diving too deep into the podcast game, but like, the few times that I had this year during the year, I did have a couple bad games before one of them, and I didn't want to do it, but like I've started to learn my give a fuck level is way low. Like,
it's gotta be.
I'm not 19 or 20 anymore where like I care as much as I used to. So it's like, for me, I know the work I put in and like what I do on the court. So I just, when it comes to podcasting and stuff, like I'm gonna do that when it comes, and it doesn't really matter what goes on the court, because that's not gonna affect my after or what's going on outside of basketball. So I always keep basketball its own thing, and then podcasts and everything else. So
I'm not mad at that. Omari, what roles has athlete storytelling kind of played in your world? Obviously, being an actor, being a fan, being a former athlete, the ability to see athletes tell the stories the way they do now, and how big of a wave that is. How was that kind of infiltrated in your life, being a former athlete?
I'm going to answer that, Matt, after you answer it. I realize we're sitting up here and Matt hasn't answered the question yet.
I thought today, that's why I started drinking. I thought I just got to answer I thought I was off today. I smoked one and now I'm drinking. I thought like, hey, I'm going to come kick it today, but But go ahead, what's your question?
You got to, so I wanted to know, because again, Matt was one of the people I was talking about when saying that oftentimes my antenna could decipher which athletes were really trying to be more. I know Matt, had a great friend, and I don't know how bosom buddied they were, but I know Matt has a lot of respect for the late, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace.
My dog, yeah.
And so I think about Kobe often, because we are absolutely representatives of Kobe. Magic and Michael and the likes, as y'all know, went hard business, and Kobe was an artist. I met Kobe also in the poetry world. He was an artist, man, and he was going to be a great producer, and so many things would have come out of that young man who was not even 41 years of age yet, or barely 41. So my question to you, Matt, Nipsey never knew COVID. Kobe never knew COVID because he passed, January 26th before COVID. Was there any synergistic connection, or was there a connective tissue in terms of inspiration? Did you, after Kobe's passing, feel like a clock was tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock for you to do things that you felt that he might have told you to do or suggested that you try?
Our journey was crazy. A lot of people don't know. I met Kobe in 98 when my freshman at UCLA. Kobe was drafted to the Lakers in 96, and it's well documented. He was always the bar. I missed MJ by 1 year. So Kobe was the bar for my generation of hoopers. And, I was a hard-nosed. I was a football player at heart, so hard-nosed defensive player. So he was always the challenge. Kobe, okay, let's get him. So, when all that kind of culminated in 2009 or 10, when I faked the ball in his face and we almost fought, he ends up calling me. So my Orlando teams goes to the Eastern Conference Finals. We lose to Boston. Kobe gets redemption against Boston and beats them in the finals, and that was a back-to-back for him. So I'm in free agency at this time, and Orlando gave some money to a couple guys and said they were going to give it to me, but didn't. So I'm thinking like, damn, okay, I'm out here in Orlando. I'm a West Coast guy. But at the same time, this is the time where the big three in Miami are assembling. So LeBron and Bosh are headed there, and I'm talking to Pat Riley and D Wade, and they're painting this picture of what this group would be like and come join it. and I get a call from Kobe out the blue, cold call. And I'm someone who doesn't answer the phone even if I see your name, but for some reason I just answered this number this one day, and it was Kobe. And I didn't believe it. He's like, it's Kobe. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Who is this? He's like, nah, it's Kobe. So we kind of start talking back and forth and kind of what happened between he and I, and he just to tell me how much he respected what I did, and that I didn't never, since he's known me, I've never backed down or fall for any of the bullshit. And he's like, do you want to be a Laker? And I'm like, shh, I'm a West Coast kid, grew up in Northern California. I grew up watching Magic Johnson. Hell yeah, in like 3 or 4 days I was a Laker. So people, I say the whole story to say, like, people thought like me and Kobe hated each other or we were gonna fight, and we were almost gonna fight, but it was always a mutual respect, you know. So we got a chance to actually, a blessing, but an unfortunate blessing. Like, we did his last interview literally before he died, and we talked about the situation, but it was crazy. We were in his office before the interview, and it was just so weird to me. Like, Kobe was so adamant about people not remembering. He's like, MB, wait till they see what I do in business this next 20 years. Like, who cares what I just did? And I'm like, you're Kobe Bryant, 5-time champion, one of the greatest players of all. Like, they're not gonna forget that. But he was like, nah, forget that. He was so, and you said it earlier, he was so intelligent and so adamant about being the greatest in the business space. And I'll say the one thing I took from Kobe was, and I already had a grinder work ethic, and I busted my ass to be able to play as long as I played, but he's like, we used to get up at 4:35 in the morning to work out and hit the track and lift weights. Like, now we just transition to getting up that early and looking at emails and getting ahead on your emails and making sure you're staying in contact with people. And he was just kind of saying how we applied what we were our whole lives to do, the discipline, the focus, the accountability, put that in business. And if you put that in business, they can't stop us. You know what I mean? So that was one thing I remember him told me, like, apply what we did on the court for most of our lives into the next transitioning phase of what currently we live in. So that was the one thing I always remember he told me before the last interview he ever did.
Amazing, bro. Wow. So Matt was always one of my favorite players, guys, and he knows why we know each other so long. I think, well, nobody far east of here, nobody mid-east of here, nobody super south of here, as in Africa, is a stranger to it either, and that being colorism. And it's always been confusing for some of us, like truly black is black. So some of us are confused, and Matt always made me think of, I think it was Crazy Bone in Bone Thugs and Harmony, when Crazy Bone said, yo, don't let the light skin fool you. And I remember looking at certain athletes in my time coming up, and my movie won. My first job, guys, speaking of media, my first job, Spike Lee was my first boss, first director, and he said to me, oh, you are the darkest light-skinned dude I ever met. And I had an issue with it. And Spike's coming off of one of the colorism movies of all time, right, in school days. And I was like, Spike, what is that? He's like, no, I'm just saying, I say, Spike, you ain't like Nino Brown Black, you ain't Wesley Snipes. Like, I was confused by the comment, and he talked to me about it, and I said, some of the hardest, most grind out people that we know, Malcolm X is a quarter white, right, with green eyes and freckles, and he said, I didn't think about that. And he said, but that's political, that's politics, not actors, not entertainers. And we had a nice, funny conversation about it, but I remember walking away not really laughing. And it's kind of analogous to your point, Matt, about you faking the ball in Kobe's face. I wasn't falsely laughing with Spike when I was laughing. I could find humor in it, because Spike is one of my dearest friends ever on earth. He's hired me 3 times. And I say that because I know why he hired me. I don't say it so that he can hire me ever again. I say it because I know why he hired me. But it's the same reason that Kobe could text and or call Matt and say, yo, no, I really respect you. And so game truly does. It's a weird, overused adage, but it's equally not weird at all. And game really does recognize game. So a lot of the athletes that I have followed, they have been the people to me who have obviously had to traverse really, really rocky roads and rocky terrains. And I always looked at you, Matt, as somebody who didn't have it easy. And I didn't even know all of your story, but I always was like, he didn't have it easy. From upbringing to now, he had to get it in. And so for Kobe to be able to see that super dope. So I guess to your question, you asked me why story coming from athletics. I thought similar to Kobe in the sense that we were already telling a story as athletes. And I realized that some of the greatest actors that I ever knew were on a subway, and they were single moms trying to figure out how to pay 5 bills. And they had no father at home to their kids. And they have on headphones, not even listening to music, perhaps just trying to avoid the next dude trying to holler at them or get their phone number. I think they're the greatest actors in the world because they're just simply existing brilliantly. If you throw a camera in their face, they might struggle. But they're incredibly good at existing where they're existing. I would look at women on subways when I was finished with football and trying to figure out how to make it in off-Broadway theater, hole-in-the-wall theaters, and I would look at these women that had hardened lives, and you could see it in their eyes, and I'm like, freaking brilliant. And I was thinking about all the money they could make. What happened for me, Matt, when I really went for it, it was after getting cut and trying my hand at theater. And I started looking at these women on subways. And I remember looking at them and feeling what I would feel when I would look to the left and the right of teammates. And the same focus and the same intention and the same purpose and the same desire to get whatever play was supposed to be gotten executed. Not just to get it and say, yeah, coach, I got it. We've gone over it 30,000 times, I got it. But to actually execute it and consistently execute it. And it made me start to go, I really could do this. Because I'm simply going to take, and it's so similar to Kobe's point, I will take what we learned, not just on the field, but sometimes from each other in the locker room, and I'll just simply make a locker room. And because I was a football guy, guys, there's 80 people involved in football, whereas Matt and Trae will tell you there's 35 or 40 involved in the family of basketball. You know what, at the most 15 on the sideline?
Yeah, that's the most.
At the most,
only
right?
12, 13, yeah.
12 or 13, but football has so many people. And so there was an immediate moment transitioning from looking at these homeless women who were trying to figure out life in New York subways to me thinking about my teammates in locker rooms and me going, I got a story to tell, my life story. And whatever characters come my way that resemble some of my life, and or I can find some transformation for all you actors out there, and I can figure out how to incorporate the parts that are me and the parts that aren't me into these characters and just tell the story like coaches are asking us to do on the football field or basketball court or baseball field, then I think I might be okay at it. So that was my moment of going, I think I should go storytell on this side now.
Yeah, I love it. I remember when I played, there was a line in the sand. Like, athletes didn't really fuck with the media. There was no secret about it because social media didn't really hit until in professional sports until maybe 2013. So it was always like, okay, if we do talk to them, we're going to kind of have this wall up and a protective wall to kind of, protect ourselves from our shit getting told the way it really wasn't. Now that you are currently an athlete and you see the big shift in media and now more current athletes such as yourself, Draymond, PG, and other guys in it, how do you guys look at media now? And as a current player, and I wanted to ask the fans, but do you guys rather hear it from the older guys, or do you prefer hearing it from the guys that you're kind of used to? I'm old. I'm 44 now, so I'm old. You know what I mean?
I didn't know you was considering yourself. I didn't think
you
was old, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, I got some gray in here. I just told the barber, let that shit shine. That shit is gray. Let that shit shine. But no, to the point now, because it's a different landscape now. Media is completely different than when I played. So how do you guys kind of look at it as current athletes?
I mean, for me personally, I look at it a lot different. When it comes to like the players, I kind of get frustrated with the former players. See,
this is what I want to know, because some former players be on bullshit though. No,
that's what I'm saying. Like there's still former players that get on TV and they say stuff for clickbait. They say stuff to.
This is what I was hoping to get for y'all here. Yeah.
For ratings.
Because there's former athletes. I'm not to cut you off, but I'm thinking like, bro, you fucking played. How are you saying that right now?
Yeah, you're supposed to be on our side. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you've been around the game. You know the ins and outs, and sometimes how it's not necessarily the player. Sometimes it can be chemistry within the coach and the best player, and that's just part of the basketball. Guys get into it, but like sometimes guys and And now it's getting to the point where former players are talking so bad about players, and now they're just messing up their contracts. And I mean, we'll talk about like, for me, like as a point guard, like I take pride in getting my teammates paid. So like when I'm done playing, like I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna be talking bad about another player. Like I don't wanna, like I think that's why assists and like getting assists is my favorite stat, is because it involves two people. So it's like, I don't understand when some former player will get on TV and then talk bad about a player, or talk even about certain guys getting their jobs taken away, or certain guys needing to step up, or they're overpaid, or this or that. Like there's certain lines that you just don't cross as a player, and I feel like going into the media side, you're still looked at as a former player. You should
you should act like it.
You should act like it. And so I think it definitely frustrates me, but I don't necessarily let it frustrate me anymore. I see what it is. So
I think there's a way, as former players, it's tough because I think our job is, when I had to work for ESPN and Fox and I had a great time doing it, it's tough for me to critique you, but I think I can critique you without disrespecting you. You know what I mean? I can critique, Craig, you didn't shoot the ball well tonight, but I don't got to attack the man or the leader. And I feel like media now is about being the loudest. It's about being first and not being right. And I feel like people throw shit out there just for clicks. And I'm just thinking like, I'm glad you gave that answer, because I'm thinking there's so many former athletes that are doing a great job, but there are some athletes out there that I look at, I'm like, bro, like you used to be in that locker room. Like, how do you have that? Why are you, I guess maybe the money, maybe the attention? That's
what I would assume. And I've been told never to assume, because it makes an ass out of you and me, but I feel like that's what it is. Like, why does a former player like have to get on ESPN and Fox, like you said? And that's why I kind of applaud you for not being on there anymore as much as you used to be. And you kind of did your own thing with all the smoke. But I
appreciate
think that's a big deal.
Yeah. All right, last question. I know we're 3.5 minutes over. We're all in the red down here. The shit is blinking like shut up and get off. But I want to ask, and I'm glad we didn't get too deep with you, O, because you got to come on All the Smoke and we really got to talk. But are we ever going to see Ghost again? On anything. Just, I want to know, are we going to see Ghost again, bro? It broke my heart that you were gone. So are we going to see you again, bro?
I'm with you in the sense that the way the story was sold and told to me is not befitting of the way it ended, guys. So y'all have every right to be like, it didn't end right. And because we don't honor our fans enough, and I know me, Matt, and Trae are different. We honor y'all. We honor our fans, man. We often forget that the fans are being sold and told a story that has a genesis, and that it has to end the way that it was sold and told to end. And because it wasn't, y'all have every right to be upset and go, so therefore, thusly, henceforth, Ghost cannot be kaput, because it didn't end the way that we started the show. But had it ended the way that we started the show, then I think you guys would be extremely satisfied with the art, the beautiful freaking art that the show was. It should exist in museums. You should be able to forever have conversations about the show. And this was everybody's uncle. Ghost was, whether Jamie or Ghost, he was everybody's uncle who was, more importantly, trying to go right from going wrong. And I loved him, and I always will love him. But I just want y'all as fans to always remember, I played the guy, so I'm a little bit bigger than him. So it's better to follow me than a character.
There you go.
Just remember that.
And with that said, beautifully said. Well, man, we thank you guys for having us today on behalf of the brothers up here,
y'all.
man. Thank you guys. Thank you, Uninterrupted, for having such a great event. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of it.
Bless y'all.
Appreciate
Thank y'all for being here.